Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. Tonight's theme is actually going to be channeling, because I've had quite a few people who've asked me about channeling this week. So I thought that would be a really fun topic. And thanks to everyone who wrote in this week with their questions and their suggestions, and we'll be getting to those in about 20 minutes or so. So, like I said, this evening I thought we'd talk about channeling. And like I said, I've had quite a few people ask me about channeling, and I've noticed that different people mean different things when they ask me about it. So I think there's some different concepts out there about what channeling is. So let's do a little test. Let's ask Corey, the program producer, what his concept of channeling is. What's your concept of channeling, Corey?
Depends on what type of music you want to listen to.
So we're not talking about music.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Channeling to me is when you're bringing a different energy through you, as opposed to your own specific energy.
Yeah, and it can be that. It can be that. Some people use it to mean channeling their own energy, or channeling divine energy, channeling the energy of God. But it's true. It can be channeling another being. And that can be a being that has positive information and information and teachings to convey to us, but it can also be the opposite end of that spectrum, right? Which is, we call that possession, but that's a form of channeling. And the difference is whether you're in conscious awareness of what you're doing, really.
I got it.
You did. Yeah, well done.
Being from England, isn't that where you go from England to France?
Across the channel. Yeah, that's right. We don't call it channeling though. Yeah, and here are some other things that you may have heard about that kind of are forms of channeling. So everyone is a channel. You are all spirit, and you all have created bodies as vehicles to experience your life through. And so you're a channel for your own consciousness, for your own spiritual energy to flow through you. And we all originate from source energy, and we all have our own unique connection with God. And so you're also able to channel that source energy. But you could also, should you choose, channel energies and entities that are outside of yourself. And there are some famous examples of this. So if you've ever watched the film The Secret, there's a lady called J.Z. Knight who's on that film, and she channels a being called Ramtha, which is supposed to be, his last incarnation on this planet is supposed to be about 50,000 years ago. And he channels teachings and information about the law of abundance in that film. And there are other examples. My favourite is Jane Roberts, who channeled a being called Seth, and she wrote a whole bunch of books all about the nature of consciousness while channeling that entity. And there are lots of others. And there are some people who work with the energy of angels, who work with the energy of ascended masters. But really, it's a bit of a minefield. If you don't understand what you're doing, I don't really recommend it, because it's possible, like we said, for you to channel other entities that are maybe not such benevolent beings. And so I'm sure some of you have seen the film Rosemary's Baby. That's from a long time ago. back from the 1970s, isn't it, that film?
That's not channeling, though.
Possession. Well, exactly, but it's a form of channeling. What's the difference? The difference is it's another being that's not her that is being channeled through her body, and it just happens to be devilish, for want of a better word. For want of a better word. And of course, there's all sort of degrees in between, being possessed by an entity like that, all the way to channeling God. And have you ever had this experience? I don't know, you're doing something at home and you say something and you go, oh my God, I sounded just like my mother. Or, oh my God, I sounded just like my father. That's a form of channeling. Just having someone else's energy flowing through your space and feeling like you're speaking like them. So to channel another person's energy, they don't have to be dead. They can be living. And, here's some other forms of channeling. Automatic writing. Automatic writing is a form of channeling. Doing automatic art is a form of channeling. And even some musicians, when they're playing music. I had a lady in today that was a pianist, and she had a whole bunch of guides around her that were really wanting to work with her on playing beautiful music. Corey looks like he wants to chip in.
So would reading a book be channeling?
Reading a book.
Yeah. Reading a book. If you're reading a book, you're reading somebody's thoughts. Would that be channeling?
No, not necessarily at all. No, not if you're reading a book. Reading a book, you're reading it from your own consciousness.
Oh, okay.
So now writing a book, you could be. Mm-hmm. Writing a book, you could be channeling. You could be channeling your own higher self, your own higher information, or you could be channeling, some other ascended master or teacher. Yeah,
because there's some books that I've read that are phenomenal books, like Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. I mean, that was more than just reading words on a page. I mean, I was able to absorb those words as an energy almost.
Right, and he's a great teacher, and that information is, I mean, if we want to call it being channeled, it's directly from source. It's really pure information, and it speaks to you on a very, very deep level. And there are, an example of a book that was channeled is The Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles. So Eckhart Tolle, when he wrote that book, he consciously knew what he was writing. Those are teachings that he was consciously aware of, that he'd embodied. Whereas the lady who wrote The Course in Miracles, and I can't remember her name, it was information that was news to her as she was writing it. So it's not something that she'd embodied and was conscious of, and it may have been coming from, they're supposed to be the teachings of Jesus, I believe, actually, A Course in Miracles. Yeah. So, what else can we tell you about channeling, folks?
Can you turn it on?
Yeah, you can. You can. Yeah, you can. You can learn to consciously control it. You absolutely can. And that would be the difference between somebody who gets possessed or, and somebody who doesn't, is that you can learn. You can absolutely learn to be in control of it and decide when to do it and when not to do it. And whether it's a practice of connecting with God or source energy and allowing that divine energy to flow through you unimpeded, or whether it's a practice of meditation where you are connecting with your own higher self and your own spiritual being, or whether it's a practice where you're consciously vacating your body and allowing another entity to enter, you can absolutely learn to be in charge of it and in control of it. Yeah, you can.
It's always an off switch, is what you're saying.
There's always, well, yeah, I mean, I guess you could call it an off switch. Yeah, you can switch it off. And, it's you can consciously learn how to control your whether you're in your body or not in your body. Basically, if you're wanting to do something like Jay-Z Night and channeling Ramtha, and Abraham Hicks is another example of it. Esther Hicks, you can see her. She says hello to the crowd, and then she says goodbye, and she consciously vacates her body and allows that other being, Abraham, to flow through. Now, my personal practice is really to focus on channeling myself. So it's not something that I personally choose to do. But there are a lot of people out there that are very attracted by this. And I guess the distinction I was trying to make, because somebody was asking me about channeling, and they were wanting to write a book, and they were wanting to channel it. And I was like, well, what exactly do you mean by channeling? Because it's not necessarily channeling, it's just getting in connection with your own higher self, with your own spiritual being, just getting connected with that source energy and allowing it to flow through you unimpeded, so that it's not blocked, so that you're not getting into your intellect trying to figure out what to write. And yeah, you can, through meditation, you can learn to do all of that. All right, well, I think we're going to go for a break, and after the break we're going to answer your questions. And we had
a lot of them this week.
We did, so let's give a bit more time to the questions. You can write, as a lot of you have this week, to info@drlesleyphillips.com. And you can call and talk to us with anything you want. It can be a question about the topic of today, which is channeling, but it can be about other things too. Whether it's of a spiritual experience that you've had and you can't explain it yourself and you want some information about it, whether it's your own intuitive abilities and learning how to open them, or whether there's just a challenge going on in your life and you could do with some support and a spiritual perspective on that challenge that's going on in your life. So, if you've got something going on to do with a relationship or your career or your studies or, money, health, life purpose, you name it, then don't be shy, because anything goes. We'll answer any question that you have, but we'll do it from a spiritual perspective. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. And we have our first caller on the line, and I believe her name is Sophia. Hello, Sophia.
Hi there.
Hello, so how can we help you today? What's your question?
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating. I'm listening you talk about channeling and spirit guides, and I have a question. I was wondering if you are able to kind of tune in to any maybe spirit guides around me.
Oh, yes.
And kind of ways for me to know that I can connect with them. Like, is meditation the best way, or are there other methods for someone who's just beginning to want to connect with the spirit guides?
Absolutely. I'll take a look at your spirit guides for you. That's a really great question. And then we'll also look at how they're wanting to communicate with you and give you some tips about that. So bear with me. I'm just going to go into trance and just take a look at you and your energy and your guides. Okay, so it looks like so I'm not seeing the guides yet, but I'm seeing I'm seeing that the main energy center that's lighting up with respect to communicating with your guides is actually your fifth chakra, and that's an energy center in your throat. And the different intuitive abilities that are governed by that energy center include your inner voice, which is you communicating with your own higher being; clairaudience, which is about communicating with other beings, such as spirit guides; telepathy, and there's also a practical form of intuition called pragmatic intuition. And so one of the things that's coming up before I even tune into who your guides are is your clairaudience. And it looks to me like there's some kind of like an energy block. Let's call it. Have you ever had any clairaudient experiences, Sophia, where you've heard other beings talking to you?
On the daily basis, no. But when I get sleep paralysis, I do hear footsteps and the wind. But that's about it, though. I haven't really had any experiences with hearing.
Right.
Maybe with seeing things in my head, like light, but not with my hearing yet.
Yeah. Well, it's coming up to talk to you about it, but from the context that it looks like you've got some kind of block. So it looks like it is an ability that you have, but somehow it's being it's not open and functional at the moment. And
okay. So how would I open it, or how would I even attempt to do that?
Yeah, so we'll take a look at that, but it looks like there's some fear around it. There's some fear around hearing out-of-body beings, and there's some past time energy around it. So the first thing is sort of just doing some healing work on your fifth chakra and bringing it into present time, and maybe just some exploration around whether there are some past experiences that you're not remembering that maybe happened when you were younger that are causing sort of like a reflex reaction there. So, but anyway, let me just take a look at this question about the spirit guides and see if I can tune into any of your guides. So, okay, there is another guide communicating with me, and he's actually telling me also to give you some information about your crown chakra. But before I do that, let me just see if I can give you some information about the guide. And I'll just mention here that these beings that we sometimes call guides, they're light, they're energy, right? But they project. In order for us to make a connection with them, they'll often project an image of what they look like. So I can describe what this guide looks like to me, but it's not really what they look like. It's just a projection to help me connect with the guide. And presumably this will help you connect with the guide, because presumably that's why they'd be showing themselves in this form. But it just looks like a fairly sort of peaceful being. It seems to be focused on helping you connect with your inner wisdom. And the way that it's looking is it sort of reminds me of a medieval person, in that it's got a long tunic, kind of gold long tunic, and it's got blonde hair with ringlets sort of down to the shoulder length, but fairly androgynous looking. Looks a bit more male than female, actually. And of course that's the other thing. That's the other thing about them. They're not male or female because they don't have a body, right? They don't have a gender. And and the way that I'm intuiting that this guide wants me to give you some information about your crown chakra, by the way, is it's standing with an open book on its head. And so there's an example of a guide communicating with me now through my clairvoyance. Okay, so it showed me a picture of what it looks like, and it's put a book on its head, which is kind of symbolically saying to me, guiding me to look at your crown chakra and look at your connection with your own higher wisdom. There's an intuitive ability in the crown chakra called claircognizance, or spiritual knowing. And so I'm going to just take a look at that too. And so it's kind of interesting because I'm also seeing that it looks like there's so it looks like you do have some energy blocks, Sophia, and that's what we're dealing with you today. So let me just see if I can get an overview about what it is. And I'm not might take me a moment to see clearly. Well, it's interesting because all that just keeps coming up is a little bit of fear around this. And I what kind of upbringing did you have? Did you have a particularly religious upbringing?
No, not really. I think what I think might be is just kind of the fear of listening or trusting myself. I think maybe that's why it's trying to get me to listen to my inner voice. Maybe that's why, because I grew up, not going against the grain. I was always, a follower. I never, caused any problems, and I just kind of lived in the background. So maybe that's why the fear.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head, and actually that's another good point because, that's when you know that you've got a good guide, is when the guide is helping you to connect with your own higher information and your own inner voice, because there is nothing better than your own direct connection with the divine. And so in a way, going through a guide, it's sort of adding a middleman. In a way, if you sort of give away all of your power over to a guide to be the conduit that you're receiving the information through, then you've added a kind of a middleman in between you and God and in between you and your higher self. So the best guides will work with you to help you enhance and develop that direct connection. And it looks like that's what this particular guide is wanting to do with you, is wanting to help you clear your blocks to your spiritual communication. And so let me just take a look at, have you done any so you're obviously interested in this because you're phoning up and asking about it. Have you done any reading, any workshops, any development yourself, or is it just a curiosity that you've called in with? I'm into all these metaphysical topics, and just recently I've been just trying to connect with my inner voice through my crown chakra. Your crown. Okay, so your inner voice is in your 5th chakra, and your spiritual knowingness is in your crown chakra.
Okay.
So let's just make a little distinction there.
Sometimes you can't tell the difference between is it just I'm thinking something, or is it coming from my guide? It's really like, for me, it's difficult to see that clear line. Right. And so that's why I was wondering if there's a method to know, like,
yes. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And I see where you're getting at now, and I'm seeing why we're being shown the book, because it's the difference between tuning into your intellect and tuning into your intuitive abilities. And there is a difference, and there are meditation techniques that you can use to help you to bypass the intellect and focus on your intuitive abilities. And so, do you listen to the show a lot? Have you listened to it before?
No, the funny thing is I came across it on the weekend on one of the meetup.com groups, and today I was just reminded that, I should listen to it, and, here I am.
Okay, well, that's great. Because what I was going to say is there's lots of podcasts on civl.ca of past topics that we've talked about on the show. And so I'd recommend you go and listen to some back copies, because I've taught quite a few of what you need to learn in those prior shows. The first thing that I teach anybody who wants to open their intuitive abilities is how to ground. And that's a meditation technique that helps you really come into your body, and it gives you a way of releasing energy, and it makes it safe for your high vibration energy and information to flow through your body. So that's the first thing, is getting you into your body and giving you a way of releasing blocks and stuff that's not working for you, because you're wanting to make yourself into a clear channel, basically, right?
Yeah.
And so the grounding gives you a way of, so we talked about a couple of blocks in the throat chakra and the crown chakra, that give you a way of releasing them. But there's a second technique called centering. And in this technique, you place your conscious awareness in the very center of your head, and that will actually set you back from your intellect. So for most people, where they think, where they intellectualize, where they process analytical information is in their frontal lobes. So if you might notice next time you're thinking, where is my energy? And you'll notice it's in the front, it's behind your forehead. But if you can pull your consciousness back into the very, very center of your head, what you're doing is you're sitting in the center of your sixth chakra, you're sitting on your pineal gland, you're starting to activate your clairvoyance. And your clairvoyance brings complete neutrality and spiritual vision. And it will set you aside from your intellect. So you'll be able to observe your intellect without being caught up in all of those thoughts that go round and round, and that's what a lot of people will tend to do, is they'll receive an intuitive insight and then they'll immediately start to analyze it and question it and decide, well, that can't possibly be true, right? And so it looks like that's part of what's going on with you is that, and these are just very simple techniques that are really easy to learn. Those two techniques, in a mentoring session, I will teach someone and practice with them for an hour, and they'll know how to do it after an hour. So it's not difficult. So that would be the first step is give you that technique to help you come into your body, give you that technique to give you your neutrality, and then sometimes it's necessary to do some work around, I call it sort of like deprogramming or letting go of past-time energy or foreign energy, just anything that's stopping you being a clear vessel for the information to flow through. All right, we want to let that go. And in the process of letting it go, you're raising your vibration. In the process of raising your vibration, you're making it easier for yourself to connect spiritually, because the energies that you're wanting to connect with are very high vibration energies, and you're in a body that's a very dense energy frequency. And so the practice of doing your own inner healing work naturally raises your vibration and naturally helps you connect more easily on a spiritual level.
Okay, I see. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. I'll definitely try those techniques and see where that takes me.
Yeah, and actually I've got a couple of meditations that are available for free on my website. So if you go to drlesleyphillips.com, you can there's a button that gives you some free gifts, and sort of like you subscribe to my website, but one of the free gifts, there is a free meditation on how to ground, and there's another free meditation on how to center, actually. So you can listen to some of the back copies of the radio shows, but you can also go there and download those two meditations to learn those two techniques.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're really welcome, Sophia, and thank you for listening. I hope that you keep listening, and call us again in a few weeks and let us know how you got on with it.
Yeah, for sure I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was Sophia with a question about spirit guides and how to connect with them. And everybody is different. And everybody has their own unique combination of intuitive abilities. And so, one person will connect on a very visual level, just like I was doing just then, and they'll be able to see their spirit guide. And their spirit guide will communicate kind of, by miming things and showing them pictures and showing them symbols. Somebody else will be able to hear their spirit guide, or both, or just have a sense of knowing the information. So there's many different ways of connecting with your spirit guide, actually. And it's kind of interesting, just to continue on with the teaching about channeling. You can communicate with your spirit guide without channeling them. So they're two different things. If you were channeling your guide, you would be vacating your body and allowing your guide to come into your body. But you don't need to do that to communicate with your guide. All you need to do is connect with yourself and start to really tune in to your intuitive abilities. And then it's just like having a conversation with your friend across the coffee table. You have a conversation with your friend across the coffee table. You don't need to merge your bodies together in order to communicate, right? You're across the coffee table and one of you says something and the other one listens. It's the same thing with your spirit guides. If you are able to tune into your intuition, your different intuitive abilities, you can have a conversation just like that without anybody getting in anybody else's space. By listening to them, by seeing them, by feeling them, by just receiving a kind of a knowingness from them, and other ways as well. So, thank you. That was such a great question, Sophia. Thank you so much for that. Everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips, and we have another caller. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Lesley.
My pleasure. So what's your question, Sarah?
Okay, my question is, it might be related to channeling somehow, because I believe it's all related, but it's in respect to my blockages within abundance. I've been trying to get a job, and that's been very difficult for me because there's a lot of requirements I need to fulfill. So I want to know what kind of ideas respect to or relative to abundance that are not letting me fulfill this desire or move on with this desire.
And I'd be delighted to look at that for you in a moment. What kind of jobs are you looking for?
It's in the creative field.
Okay. And is it something that you've studied and you're just trying to find your first?
Something that I studied.
Is it your first job that you're looking for, or you've done it before and you're just?
It's not my first job, but I'm not. Yeah, I guess I would be like a intermediate professional. I won't be I'm not a senior.
Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at you.
I'm listening to the recording. It's really funny.
Okay, so I'm just taking a look. I'm just taking a moment to tune into your energy.
Okay.
And right away, I can really validate that you're a very creative individual. There's a lot of creative energy around you, for sure. I can see that. But I can also see your frustration around not having an outlet for it. And interestingly enough, the place that I'm looking at, do you know about the chakras?
Yes.
So you know that there's one in the solar plexus. It's called your third chakra. And one of the functions of that one is energy distribution. So it's kind of about how you focus and channel your energy. And one of the things that when I'm looking at your energy is it actually looks quite, what's the word, dispersed. So it doesn't look focused, it looks kind of fuzzy and dispersed. And I don't know whether that's because you're running around doing a lot, applying for a lot of jobs, and it's sort of all over the place. But I'm seeing one of the things is it has to do with focus. Energy follows thought, right? And so if your thoughts are really very focused, then they're leading you in one direction. But if you're running around in 1,000 directions, then there's less power behind all of those 1,000 thoughts that are floating around. And so I'm seeing that the part of the learning, or the thing to unblock, has to do with focus and focusing your energy. And I think the other thing is, and you tell me if this sounds right, but it's sort of like, well, I need a job, any job. It needs to be in the creative field, but I'm just running around trying to find, a job here, there, and everywhere. And the other way would just be like, what do I really want? What do I really want? What do I want to create? And then just focus on that. And instead of trying to find something, running around trying to find something outside of yourself, it's got more to do with focusing on being the vibration of what you want right now and focusing your energy behind that thing. And, the other thing is that will trip you up every time. It's sort of like this pattern that people get into. I want this, but I don't have it. I want this, but I don't have it. And the universe hears, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it. And the law of abundance is about, it's a law of mirroring. It's whatever frequency you're transmitting, whatever frequency you're giving out, is what will be reflected back at you. It's kind of like a sonar in a way. How dolphins and submarines, they send out a frequency and then it gets pinged back at them. That's the way the universe works. Whatever frequency you're putting out, it gets pinged back at you. So if in your thoughts you're putting all your energy behind the problem,
yes,
you'll be delivered more of more problem. But if you're putting your energy behind really feeling, it's sort of like, imagine yourself in your ideal job and what that will feel like. And because what that will feel like, that then you're giving out the frequency of being in that job, and really believe that you have it already, that it is in your reality. All right? Because energy follows thought. Now, it takes time for physical reality to catch up to that sometimes, As spirit, when we create something, it's instantaneous because there's no time or space for us. But there's time and space for the body. So, there's always a few steps for something to come into manifestation. And the rate at which it will manifest is directly proportional to how much you're believing in yourself. So if you're doubting yourself and you're doubting the universe and you're doubting that it's possible, that will really slow down the process of finding a new job.
I've been really listening to Abraham Hicks, and she also talks a lot about that, like how you need to, in order to follow up your desire, you need to really be not so much be more appreciative, but like already see you there and kind of like even taste it and almost like see you already there.
Yeah.
I guess the issue would be on respecting to focus, that I like so many different things, that the creative field is so vast and numerous that there's so many things that I like.
Yeah.
There's so many things I'm interested.
Yeah, and
so
that's.
I understand how you can say that I need to just focus on one and like direct myself.
Exactly, and think of it this way. It just choose a place to start. It doesn't mean that you can't do some of those other things later. But it's when we try to do everything all at once, it kind of doesn't work, because we're projected in time and space. As spirit, we can, everything just is, right? Everything that we're interested in, we have it. But when you're in time and space, you can't fit everything into the same moment. So you kind of have to choose. So it's almost like sit down and say, well, here's a list of the things that I'm interested in, and I'm going to choose this one first, and then I'm going to really focus on that. And then, once I feel complete with that, I'm going to move on to the next one. And sometimes we can do a couple of things at once, but, when you're in that too many choices and overwhelm, if you don't choose, you just stay in that cloud of possibilities instead of moving into the...
So take one at a time.
Yeah. One or two at a time, and that will really help you focus your energy and give you a place to start.
And you see that you see some sort of like imbalance on the solar plexus?
I was seeing something there. Let me tune back into it. It's so oftentimes I'm looking at sort of energy configurations, and this energy configuration, it looks like well, at first it looked like a little stick going across the energy center, but it looks like, when you have an outboard motor and it's got that thing that you pull, or an old-fashioned lawnmower, and there's like a string that you pull.
That you have to pull it several times in order to... Yeah,
there's something like that in your third chakra. and so it's almost like, let's take... I might just give you a quick healing and move it out, and as I move it out, if I see where that's coming from, I'll give you some more information. But it's something that's sort of making you believe... either making you believe that you don't have what it takes, or making you... holding you back from getting started. And... I don't know where it's come from. It might be. Did you have protective parents when you were a kid?
Well, I would say that yeah. But, I'm not sure if it's that the case, or the fact that I've always had to fulfill so many things in order to move forward. Like, there's always so many laws on top of me. There's always so many things.
So tell me about that, because you said I'm having trouble because there's so many different things to fulfill. So what's the things that you have to fulfill that's causing you a problem?
Yeah, well, there's as a foreigner, I need to fulfill a certain amount of hours, and my job has to be in a certain title in order to get a permit to still be able to do it.
I see.
So it's not that I don't believe I have a full potential of doing what I love. It's more that I have to gather all these requirements in order for me to still...
Right. So it's part of this... Okay, so it looks like there's a little bit going on that sort of says it's out of my control, that other people decide this.
Exactly.
And it seems that way, doesn't it? But if you can really embrace the belief that you have 100% control over your life, and that you fully create your life, and be in that, and your reality, and be in that vibration of already having a job, what will happen is that the universe will bend into shape around that. And so somehow or other, then, all the boxes that you need to be ticked will be ticked. That list of things will dissolve. And so, it seems like, well, there's all of these officials and bureaucrats and all of this outside of me causing this, problem for me. But
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, you understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess following up to what you said, is there a way to maybe ask my higher self or my guides to maybe help me on finding this focus?
Yeah.
Or for them to give me some tips, or for them to, I don't know, aid in some sort of way.
Yeah, and of course I'm going to say to you what I say to everyone all the time, which is grounding. So it looks like grounding would help you, because grounding would bring more of your energy and information into your body. And it also looks, now I'm looking sort of down at the first chakra level, that, you know, this trouble, this sort of challenge that you're going through, there's some pain around it, and you're sort of starting to store that pain in your body, so that if you could just, you know, practice that grounding and releasing that, then that would help. But let me see what else we can say to you. And actually what I said to the last lady about learning to ground and learning to center, both of those will help you to connect with yourself and your own information. And let me see what else I can say. It does look like you're tangled up in some, it's almost like a little network of beliefs that are holding you back, and they are all around the third chakra level, actually. And so, you know, your guides are just showing me, it's sort of like a matrix of, I mean, part of it really is just working with your beliefs and your thoughts, and watching your thoughts and catching your thoughts and shifting and changing your thoughts. And just ask your guides, you know, to help you with that, to help you become more conscious of that, you know, and to connect with your higher self, ground, center, meditate. You know, that's the way to do it, really, is to turn into that internal world within you and let go of the external stimuli and influences. And like I said to the last lady, if you go into the center of your head, then that will put you outside of your intellect, and it will also put you above your emotions. So if you're starting to get all churned up about things, it will help you to stay neutral and above that. So
sorry.
Go ahead. We've only got 3 minutes left, so we're going to have...
Well, I believe it must be related, but I went to your website and I got the card of freedom.
Yeah.
And it's the person that it's juggling. It looks kind of like a frog that it's juggling, and there's like some sort of like river in the bottom where it's balancing. I wanted to ask you if it has to do with this as well, like in which way it's related, or...
Yeah, I think it does have to do with what I just said to you, because that's that little creature. It looks like it's going from side to side, and it's sort of limited in its movement, and yet it could just... It's got like this sort of helicopter on its head, right? And it could just rise above the whole lot and have a different perspective. So yeah, I believe it is. If you want more information on that, just drop me a line at info@drlesleyphillips.com, because unfortunately I'd love to chat longer, but we have to wind up because the show's about to end. So thank you very much, Sarah, for your question.
So much.
Yes,
your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for answering my call. I for sure would keep in touch.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, like I said, everyone, we're about to wind the show up, and I just wanted to mention that the next 3 weeks we can take your email questions. We won't be having any call-in, and that is because the next 3 shows are going to come from different locations outside of the studio. And so do send your questions in to info@drlesleyphillips.com, and we'll be broadcasting from some special surprise destinations for the next 3 shows.
And just a quick hello out to Sophia. Sophia wanted to ask a question about, she emailed us just before the show about the law of manifestation. Hope that answered some of your questions, Sophia.
Yeah, we were hoping to get to your question, Sophia, so I hope it did. But we can also try and pick up on that in a show in the coming weeks as well.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.